We are puzzled too. Justice is hearing Vybz Kartel's appeal in shock as new evidence raises concerns. Good evening and welcome to Primetime News on air and online at onespotmedia.com. I'm Archibald Gordon.
And I'm Doreen Samuels. Also this evening, Blue Hole Mystery. Tourists sick, some dead. The popular St. Anne attraction blamed.
Health crisis looms. St. Anne residents turn to dirty pond for water.
More seizures. Sea-Talk steps up offensive against counterfeit goods.
Up in blaze. Fire God's Long Pond sugar factory.
And in business news, don't throw it out. The Bank of Jamaica goes after millions in coins.
There's also sports post commentary and weather in the primetime package. But before the break, the feedback question.
This evening we're asking, should persons applying for certain posts in government be required to declare past convictions? Give reasons for your answers.
Share comments online, facebook.com/televisionjamaica and tweet at televisionjam.
Please stay with us. Primetime News returns after this break.
Welcome back to Primetime News.
Special welcome to folks on onespotmedia.com.
Up first this evening, a discrepancy in relation to the time of one of the damning text messages used to convict dancehall entertainer Vybz Kartel of murder has left the judges hearing his appeal puzzled.
One of the defense attorneys in the case revealed the anomaly as the first day of the hearing of the entertainer's appeal got underway.
The three-member panel, Court of Appeal President Dennis Morrison, Justice Patrick Brooks and Justice Frank Williams, is presiding over the matter. TVJ's Vashon Brown was in court today.
This is one of the text messages reportedly taken from one of Vybz Kartel's mobile phones. Between me and you, a chap will chop up the boy lizard fine and dash him away now. As long as you leave them can never find him. Today, attorney at law representing Sean Campbell, Bianca Samuels, told the court that the phone's metadata showed that the text message was created on July 6, 2011, 6 weeks before prosecutors claim Williams was killed.
What that reveals, because the past tense is used in the text message, so what that reveals obviously is that there was some tampering and usage of the phone to create a text message somehow that came before, that was prophetic in some way as to the death, or alleged death rather, of Clive Williams.
Ms. Samuels says this left her puzzled. The three-member panel also seemed puzzled. President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Dennis Morrison, said our silence was sharing in your puzzlement. Ms. Samuels also argued that there were multiple unexplained usage of the phone. During the trial, defense lawyers argued that 3 calls were made on the phone while it was in the custody of the police. The forensic expert who testified at the trial said he did not authorize anyone to use the phone. Ms. Samuels today argued that prosecutors failed to prove the integrity of the phone.
The key, which was supposed to close the locker, which the phone was supposed to be held in, was simply left on top of the locker, and anyone could have had use or could have been privy to use of that specific locker. The cell phone, which included a number of damaging pieces of evidence relied on by the Crown, should not have been given to the jury for their consideration based on the law.
Now, the other matter raised in court today was prosecutorial misconduct. Lawyers raised concern that the jury was allowed to deliberate, despite the court hearing that one juror was trying to bribe other members of the jury panel. The Director of Public Prosecutions, Paula Llewellyn, was under scrutiny. Attorney at law Bert Samuels, who is representing Sean Campbell, accused the DPP of aiding and abetting an attempt to pervert the course of justice.
It was brought to the attention that a man sought to bribe the jury. The learned DPP said the judge should keep him and just give the normal warning. Don't refer to the fact of any bribe, and just let him deliberate. And at the same time, the same evening, she took statements and sought to have him charged for perverting the course of justice. So the net result is you knowingly cause a man who is perverting the course of justice to sit on a trial for a citizen of Jamaica when he's a briber, and then you seek to try him in half a tree thereafter. If that is not prosecutorial misconduct.
The Court of Appeal ruled last week that it will accept new pieces of evidence in the case. The three-member panel heard some of the new evidence today.
That round we won last Monday has borne fruit today, because we now have before the court a statement by Mr. Chow, the star witness, that he reached Swallowfield at 8 o'clock in the night. and that, in his testimony, he reached between 5 and 5:30 during August. The public knows that 5:30 in August is broad daylight.
Cartel is appealing the life sentence imposed on him in 2014 for the murder of Clive Lizard Williams. 3 other men, Sean Campbell, Andre St. John and Kyra Jones, were also convicted for the murder. The appeal continues tomorrow. Vashon Brown, TVJ News.
2 visitors to the island are dead and several more are recovering after being diagnosed with leptospirosis. The people all point to a popular attraction, Blue Hole in St. Anne, as being the source for their health issues. But is it? TVJ's Janella Precious has been following that story and has the first of a 2-part series on the Blue Hole mystery.
Dunn's River Falls or the Blue Hole. Nowadays, an increasing number of visitors to the island are flocking to the latter. According to the reviews online, they see the Blue Hole as less touristy. The lure, one visitor remarked, is that it's a more relaxed environment and it gives more of a feel of being in Jamaica. It's perhaps why in February, this group of 18 from Maryland, USA, journeyed miles to Thatch Hill, Ocherius, where the popular tourist attraction is located. This is what the Blue Hole looks like on a regular day, but they arrived to murky waters due to rain.
So I really didn't think much of it. I asked the guy that we paid to go in that if it was safe, and he said, yeah, it was fine. So I luckily had a brand new white bathing suit on, so I didn't want to swim in it. But, most of the men jumped in and swam in it and had a great time.
The tour guide carried them through the various routines like jumping from ropes into the water. The thrill of the experience ended, however, days after they returned to the U.S.
All 9 men swam. Out of our group, there was 6 that ended up getting sick.
The water from the Blue Hole flows into the White River. It's where the less adventurous visitors come to play. Robert Kuntz and his wife were there in November. Not long after returning home from their vacation, he was hospitalized.
When they realized his kidneys were failing, his liver and his lungs. Of course, the lungs is what started it all when he when he wasn't able to breathe. Ultimately, they had to put him under sedation because he started coughing up, he started suffocating. And it was at that point that they realized something was not right. Majorly wrong, something was not right. So they had to intubate him and put him under a medically induced coma in which he was in for 16 days.
They've only been married for about a month now, but a newlywed wife is praying her husband makes it out of a medically induced coma alive.
Days after this story was aired in December 2017, Chris McCanich died. Dead too is Canadian Ben Warford. His family says he visited the Blue Hole in January this year.
By the second week of him being back, he wasn't feeling well. Within 4 days, he had visited the ER 3 times. The 3rd time that he went in is the time they kept him. At that point, he was coughing up blood. He could barely hold his head up. He was extremely jaundiced, and he physically could barely hold himself up.
He died on February 22. Medical documents all confirmed that the victims contracted leptospirosis. According to the Center of Disease Control and Prevention, the disease is spread mainly by contact with water or soil contaminated by the urine of infected animals. Persons can get the disease by swimming or wading in fresh, unchlorinated water contaminated with animal urine, or by coming into contact with wet soil or plants contaminated with animal urine. In humans, it can cause a wide range of symptoms, some of which may be mistaken for other diseases.
He was acting like he had the flu, tired, wanting to rest, body aches, fever.
He had a high fever, bad headache, that type of thing. And they said that it was the flu.
Another common factor is that when they visited the Blue Hole, the water was murky. This hasn't stopped hundreds of visitors from taking a dive, as we found out when we visited the attraction recently. But is it safe? We continue to explore the issue in part 2 of our series. Janella Precious, TVJ News.
Now, a serious health crisis appears to be looming in a section of rural Jamaica. Residents in southwest St. Anne say they have to be using contaminated water for years, and it's now making them sick. TVJ Shamela Mitchell reports.
A mini pond in deep rural St. Anne, something not unfamiliar. But there are concerns about this particular water source. It is filled with debris and, without being treated, is being consumed by more than 2,000 people in southwest St. Anne.
We use it, cook, wash, drink, do all sort of things.
From this pond, the commodity is transported for household use in buckets and bottles. This donkey helps as well. It's about 5 minutes from the main road to the riverhead where the residents come to get their water on a daily basis. For some, it's a difficult journey. For others, it has become quite easy. They have been using the pond because a tank installed by the municipal corporation to supply water is often empty.
We can't stop drinking for we can't do no better.
Some argue that the water is safe for drinking, but that view is not shared by all.
It's a running stream, you know. By actually them taking up it often, make it look like this.
That one stagnant water for me, I look up water at the one place so the water no run. Nah, nothing. And when rain falling, it catch pan the reservoir, bird and sitting pitch and fill pan, rat, everything. And you run good in the sun and then catch it.
Some residents say people have become ill after consuming the water.
Sometimes it affect the belly, the tummy, eh?
How it affect your tummy?
Like sometimes you let it run, eh?
We feel sick inside, weak, and then weird sometimes, you know. We don't love how we feel, man. I not just we alone. The whole are we up here.
They blame their political representatives for not doing enough to help.
Nothing at all I'm going for January there, so. Me I wonder what happened to Mr. Brown. What me remember what the MP name, man? What the MP name? Xavier Name. Me I wonder what happened to Xavier Name for election we don't see him back. Nothing if he ask himself he can give the water.
When TVJ News contacted People's National Party Councillor for the Barbridge Division, Winston Brown, and the Jamaica Labour Party Member of Parliament for Southwest St. Anne, Xavier Main, both men refuted the claims. They say water has been trucked to the area. But the residents dispute the claim and are calling on the Prime Minister to intervene.
Right now, TVJ, I'm glad to see you in the community. That's we can send out to where we have to say that's the government. Mr. Prime Minister, I hope you get that one. Yeah. And no, say January people, when election time come, then jump up for you. So we want to see you, no man, and can do something for you district, man. The people they want water, good, decent running water.
Meanwhile, Mayor of St. Anne's Bay, Michael Belnavis, says the corporation is aware of the challenges and is working to address it. Shamela Mitchell, TVJ News.
Our top story this evening, appeal judges left puzzled after revelation of a discrepancy surrounding a text message used to convict dancehall entertainer Vybz Kartel. And still ahead, the World Bank outlined how much Jamaica needs to set aside each year to deal with natural disasters. And in business news, Bank of Jamaica goes after millions in coins. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Primetime News. Merely halfway through this year, and the Counter-Terrorism and Organized Crime Investigation Branch, CTOC, says it has already surpassed the total value of counterfeit goods seized last year. CTOC says it's all part of increased operations and improved technology in identifying fake goods locally. CTOC representatives were again on operation in Kingston, where more fake goods were seized. TVJ's Herman Green reports.
More raids this year on entities selling counterfeit goods. For Assistant Superintendent of Police Victor Barrett of CTOC, that along with better technology are the main reasons for the increased seizure of fake goods this year.
Last year we did $1.2 billion worth of counterfeit goods, and to date we surpassed $1.2 billion. We surpassed that. You know, the exact figure is, to date we probably have about 1.5.
The most recent operation was in Central Plaza in Halfway Tree, St. Andrew on Monday afternoon. Counterfeit Nike, Puma, Converse, and other brands of footwear were seized. ASP Barrett notes that this is a small seizure at a small establishment.
But nonetheless, where the evidence leads us, that's where we go. In terms of dollar value, it's about, to date, about 500,000 Jamaican dollars, because we are still counting. Yes, one person will definitely be arrested and charged for the breach of a trademark, as also the Custom Act and the Consumer Protection Act, because it's once you deceive the public then it's a breach of the Consumer Protection Act.
The increased raids are fueled by improved technology, which allows CTOC to contact overseas manufacturers to confirm the legitimacy of products found in Jamaica. It's why ASP Barrett is renewing this warning to perpetrators.
As we always do, we're saying to desist. Find the manufacturers, get your line of credit, do the thing properly, or you'll find other methods of earning some legit money. But if you continue to trade in the counterfeit goods, rest assured that CTOC will be knocking at your doors.
And a warning for shoppers as well.
I know it's back to school time coming soon, and it's a shopping period now. I'm saying to citizens, be careful what you purchase for yourself or your children, because the same shoe that you might buy for $2,000 might cost you $10,000 and $15,000 in medical bills, because you don't know the component parts of these shoes. You might buy a sneakers, and the sneakers has toxic chemicals.
Herman Green, TVJ News.
In a primetime news follow-up now, residents of retirement and surrounding communities in St. James say they have been left sick after inhaling smoke from a fire at the dump over the past 2 days. TVJ's Herman Green has been following that story.
Firefighters and NSWMA representatives spent Saturday and Sunday battling the fire at the retirement dump in St. James. The blaze sent smoke bellowing across several communities. But despite the efforts of the NSWMA, residents of communities like Gutters and Retirement say there is no difference as the smoke is still affecting them.
I don't feel well. My headache, my throat dry out and all them something. It affects me a lot.
Then me inhale it, you see? My stomach burn me. You see, me have some tablet when me take them and when me cough, it's black.
I kind of feel weak. I don't know what causes it. Why not the smoke?
According to the residents, the fire started Friday night and the smoke has been affecting the elderly, children, even some young adults who told TVJ News on Monday they were too sick to work and instead stayed home locking themselves inside. Simone from Gutters is worried about the impact on her and her children's health.
From Saturday morning about 10 o'clock, I wake up and see a blanket of smoke over the place, and from then on I've been coughing, spitting, and then again the thing that I am afraid of, there is no hospital for us to go. So when this respiratory problem takes us now, what are we going to do?
On Sunday, the Jamaica Environment Trust, JET, issued a statement calling for better management of the island's dumps to prevent fires which are more frequent. The residents agree with the call, insisting that this is not the first time they have had serious health issues because of fires at the retirement dump.
Some years ago, I don't even remember what year it cost me to go to the hospital. Come in like I'm having asthma. You know, it's not really nice. Not really nice up here.
In addition to promising to put out the fire by Monday, NSWMA Executive Director Audley Gordon said steps would also be taken to remove persons who live on the dump. He said they were responsible for starting the fire. Herman Green, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, the smoke nuisance has also affected businesses in sections of St. James. In light of the plumes of smoke, Mayor of Montego Bay, Homer Davis, today demanded that the National Solid Waste Management Authority urgently address the problem.
To the citizens who are living in the immediate area and extended area who are suffering as a result of this excessive smoke across section of Montego Bay. It is, in my opinion, it's a very unwelcome situation, but it is a situation that, from information, has been caused by someone deliberately lighting the dump.
He's also calling for legislation to be put in place to govern dumps.
What this has shown us is that we need to secure the dump. And in securing the dump, we will have to make areas around the dump sterile. I don't know what legislative framework there will be, but the dump needs to be secure, and secure by fencing, and secure by the necessary surveillance cameras, and secure by the necessary security.
A section of the Long Pond sugar factory in Trelawney has been gutted by fire. At least 60,000 litres of rum packed in containers were destroyed. Reports indicate the blaze started around 12 this afternoon. The cause of the fire has not been determined.
The fire department and the police are probing the cause of a blaze which left a 3-year-old dead in Jericho, Hanover. A second child, who is 5 years old, escaped. The father, who was left to watch the children, has been charged. More from TVJ's Kirk Wright.
On Sunday, when this house went up in flames, a 3-year-old infant girl, Michaela Henry, perished in the blaze. Their father, Neville Henry, left his 2 daughters alone at home to get food at a nearby shop.
And coming back home, I was out by the gate for a little while talking to a friend. Didn't see any smoke or anything. And eventually my friend left. And I saw my elder daughter running towards the step, saying that there's fire. And eventually when I looked there now, I saw the roofing of the house was ablaze. I went by the back where she was coming from. The door was open. When I went into our room, the entire room was on fire, just at the bed everywhere.
The children's mother, Janelle Campbell, came home from work to the horrific news.
I don't even know what to say. I don't know where to begin.
She says they both are usually with the children.
I don't go anywhere. I'm always with my kids. Always. Always. And the father also. If it's the car wash, they're there together. If it's a studio, they're there together. Everywhere. But God, see, I know. You see, I know what is behind this.
The father has been charged for negligence and is to appear in court on November 24. Kirk Wright, TVJ News.
This evening, a call from a Jamaica Labour Party MP for the government to find incentives to attract persons back into rural Jamaica, where there's been a steady migration of residents into urban areas. The issue was discussed as part of TVJ's Krista Campbell's feature of the many challenges of life in rural areas.
A thriving community with churches and schools bursting at the seams. That's what residents of Pear Tree Grove in rural St. Catherine say they remember. A far cry from what exists now.
We don't have proper road. The light goes frequently. There is no water. There is no internet. When light goes, there is no telephone signal. Digital doesn't work up here. Flow, when light goes, there is no flow signal. Just the overall social decay here, it's unbearable. The young people have nothing to do. There is no social intervention. There are no training programs within maybe a 10-15 mile radius. There's just nothing.
Houses with no residents. Another one of the challenges here in Pear Tree Grove, St. Catherine. We're told a farmer and his family once lived in this house, but with the decline in farming in the area, like other farmers, he packed up and moved.
I was living in Portmore, so I come back here for holiday really. If the condition of the road no fix, me I go leave too.
17-year-old Tyreek Ray recently graduated from high school. He says, like many other residents, he would gladly return if the roads and utilities were improved and jobs were available. Businesses taking a hit in many communities, no restaurants. Shops and other businesses have also had to close. That leaves very little to do in terms of nightlife.
Well, you have 1 and 2 lively spots on the road at nights. But otherwise, and it's a distance. So if you get there again, you have to walk on the bad road. And it's a problem that if you come home back, if you don't have buckle torch or a phone light, you can't see where you go.
Residents describe conditions so bad, they say not even the nearest police in Riversdale want to visit the area for events like Career Day. So what happens if there's an emergency?
For us to get out, it has been a challenge also. By the time the person to reach the hospital, they would die. And if it's a fire, for fire persons to come, house would burn down.
Our closest health center on the map would be Troja. They have no doctors. Doctors don't go there. Riversdale gets a doctor on a Tuesday. They have no dental facilities. Dentists don't even visit there.
Funerals and burials impacted too.
December we had a death and the police took hours to come before the body could be taken, right? And then the funeral, he was a member of this church.
But because of the road, the funeral was not held here.
But even St. Catherine Northeastern MP Leslie Campbell concedes the government needs to do more to stem the urban drift across the island.
It may very well mean that we have to say to people, go and develop these lands, and if you go and develop these lands, then we'll not collect any tax from you for the next 10 years. I mean, some kind of incentive. Or, you know, we'll give you, if you are involved in agriculture, we'll say that you pay no tax on your earnings for the next 5 years, whatever it is.
Krista Campbell, TVJ News.
We will plan better. That commitment from the Ministry of Finance on preparing for natural disasters. A World Bank report, Disaster Risk Financing on Disaster Risk Financing in Jamaica, is recommending that more funds be set aside for natural disasters and the country can currently afford. But the government says it is committed to getting the ball rolling. Giovanni Dennis has more in this report.
$16 billion, the amount that Jamaica will have to set aside annually to effectively deal with natural disasters.
Especially soon after disasters, right? Especially like within 2 weeks after disaster, the government needs to mobilize. There needs to be cash for debris removal, to mobilize the emergency response.
The information is contained in a World Bank report on disaster risk financing in Jamaica that was launched today. Jamaica, along with other Caribbean islands, are prone to hurricanes and other natural disasters like earthquakes. Between 1950 and 2016, there have been 12,000 natural disasters worldwide, 324 of those affecting the Caribbean alone. Simply put, 38% of the global cost of natural disasters is borne by the Caribbean alone.
The research shows that the economic impact of these 324 natural disasters in the Caribbean has been substantial, exceeding US $22 billion.
In fact, World Bank Country Manager for Jamaica, Galina Sotirova, says Jamaica suffers greatly not just from natural disasters like hurricanes, but droughts and floods. She adds,
it might take only one catastrophic event, such as a hurricane, to undo all of the achievements of the last few years, and to put the country back on an unsustainable debt trajectory.
To avoid this, a disaster risk financing strategy is being worked on with the assistance of the World Bank. As it stands, Jamaica cannot afford to set aside the $16 billion it needs annually, but in the interim, this commitment.
But nobody ever said Rome was built in a day. We, however, need to make disaster risk financing a priority and factor it into the budget and debt management process in a systematic way.
The State Minister noted that Jamaica now has the information as well as partners on board, and it is now time to act. In the meantime, this warning.
This report is not intended just to sit on a desk. This report is a live document, so the capacity needs to be within the government to understand this approach and carry it forward.
Just last year, torrential rainfall caused significant damage to the agricultural sector, with the government earmarking $3 billion for recovery. Already this year, the Met Office has warned of increasing temperatures between July and September. Sections of some parishes have also been experiencing a prolonged dry spell over the past 2 months, with Jamaica being affected by dust from the Sahara Desert. Giovanni Dennis, TVJ News.
In this week's edition of A Ray of Hope, what's the operation? Help the people.
A Ray of Hope is
brought to you by your credit plan is protected from hurricanes, redundancy, and more. We've got it all. Coors, bringing value home. Conditions apply.
They're more than just a group of people wearing branded wear. They're members of a youth charity group called Operation Help the People, and they're on a mission to bring a ray of hope to the less fortunate. The initiative, which is led by a young American with Jamaican roots, Caleb Jackson, started in 2014 after he visited the island and saw the struggles of the less fortunate in inner-city communities. Since then, the group has acquired over 500 volunteers, in addition to a branch in Washington, D.C. President Matthew McAnuff-Jones says the aim is to empower the volunteers while influencing kindness.
The youth are the next generation, and these are the persons that are going to be the next prime ministers, the next CEOs,
And it's important to build that kind of ethic that to give back into the community, because some persons are just unluckily born into less fortunate families, but that doesn't mean that we should turn our eyes to them.
So far, the group has done over 30 local projects, including school renovations and feeding programs.
We take things for granted. Something as small as a simple pencil, well, these people appreciate it, and it is very important for us to make everyone feel special around us. There's so many distractions, but I think it's very important that you try to sacrifice the time you have.
We had a Christmas treat in Trenchtown the other day, and a child came to me and asked, when are we coming back? Things like this made me feel really good inside.
Knowing in the back of your mind that, hey, this is not something that I get every day, and even though I can't do this every day, it's still touching someone one bit at a time.
I believe that creation and wealth weren't distributed properly in this world, and everybody deserves to be loved.
They're encouraging youths to give back to society, regardless of age.
What we're doing is not the greatest, and that's why we continuously do it over and over.
I would really like to see everyone using what God has given them to impact other person's life instead of being selfish.
You have clothes that you don't wear anymore. There's so many avenues for clothes donations. You can just simply give your clothes to the Salvation Army.
I want them to see us as a family unit. If they have any sort of problem, educational problem, they can't find lunch money, they can't find books, they come to us.
With a ray of hope, I'm Ken Morgan.
A Ray of Hope is
brought to you by your credit plan is protected from hurricanes, redundancy, and more. We've got it all. Coors, bringing value home. Conditions apply.
Time now for the responses from our friends on Facebook and Twitter, and Archie is at the smartboard.
Thanks, Doreen. This evening, here's what we're asking. We're asking, should persons applying for certain posts in government be required to declare past convictions? We're asking people to give reasons for their answer, and we're getting a mix of responses. Here's the first. Everybody makes mistakes in their past and needs a second chance. And no, past convictions should not be declared, says that person. Here's another. Of course they should. We, the people of Jamaica, need to be aware of who is ruling the different sectors of our country. This person says, I don't think it's needed because we've all done things in our past, and I don't think one bad mistake should determine a person's future. And here's a fourth comment. For reasons of transparency, I do believe that it should be revealed, especially if there's an instance where it might be brought into question later. It does pose an issue when the individual has been successfully rehabilitated and is contributing in a good way, but to prevent persons from using it as a reason to not trust the individual, it is best to reveal. And a final comment for this section, that if there's a question about it in the interview, yes, but if someone has been rehabilitated and is contributing to society, I cannot see why their past should represent their present position. Everyone deserves a second chance, or else we would never have a prime minister or leader of the opposition. My opinion. Keep your comments coming on Facebook and Twitter, facebook.com/Television Jamaica, and your tweets to @TelevisionJam. Business news and news from overseas after the break.